Sorry, can't do that.
It ain't right. How many good folk we gonna lose to our missions?
A Mantiqueen.
Yeah. We felled it, mind. But we lost 2 runners and 5 gun hands.
A total failure, then. So much for the ruins.
And hell only knows where the Van Oys are. They never showed.
I'm sure they're... let's talk later. It seems we have company. A stranger comes to our home. If you're looking for a path to walk, you've found one. If you're looking for a teacher, I am one. Welcome to the Iconoclasts. The truth that I have come to learn and embrace since shedding the corporate yoke. Out here, we survive by the sheer strength of our spirit. We have no need for the endless rules and red tape of a corporate structure.
We do seem to burn through endless ammunition and medical tape, though.
Yes, well, such is life. Our descendants will enjoy safety and luxury, but our generation is the foundation on which that future is built. Now, why have you come?
I heard about you. You're trying to change the colony, right? Transform the soul and character of Halcyon.
Right you are, my boy. Soon every man, woman, and child will experience their own spiritual awakening under my guidance. The Iconoclasts are free folk. We live under our rules, motivated by our own beliefs, all petals on the same flower of enlightenment. Meanwhile, the board strangles the will of its workers. It is the penultimate exercise of a poisoned society where people are enslaved by a corporate ladder. We seek to replace their way of life with ours. Philosophism is the key to unlocking their shackles. Oh, yes. Gunships hover in our skies, ready for the day they decide to come to our doors waving banners of war. The perception of visionaries is often tainted by the lies of their oppressors. A sad state of affairs, to be sure. All right. I'm sorry. As long as it's been, I'd still rather not speak of it. That was a painful day for us all. It's fine. Perhaps someday I'll be strong enough to recall that tragedy, but today is not that day. Awakening is available to all whose minds are ready to accept it. What would you like to know? The Eternal. We are all part of the consciousness of the cosmos. Each of us plays a tiny role in the universe's continual journey toward understanding itself. You and I, and the rats and the mantis swarms. Divinity is in us all, and the Eternal is that divinity. Everyone, regardless of ability to believe, is another facet of the universe contemplating its own existence. The point of no return. When your mind fully opens to the eternal truth, every philosophist experiences it along the path to enlightenment. For many, it is the first brush with the cold of death, when they realize that all of their lives have boiled down into the single truth of that moment. Mine was witnessing my friend and colleague transform into the very evil we sought to combat. Now he runs MSI just like the overlords before him. Sanjar Nandi. He leads MSI out of Stellar Bay. Such a shame, the way his sensibilities have been corrupted over time. Not in the sense of a single entity, fashioning the universe as a whittler fashions a flute. The universe came into being over time, organically, naturally, and without purpose. In that sense, I suppose you could say that, in the interest of finding its purpose, the universe itself created all living things.
Whoa. I think I just felt my brain kick into a higher gear. Is this what you folks call enlightenment?
If it were only that easy, my delightfully eager friend. You've taken but one step on our long and arduous, but ultimately fulfilling, path toward the eternal truth. Go ahead. All right. Why have you come? Stop. No. Spreading the truth is the only way to combat the board's poisonous campaign of propaganda against their people. I realize the board has blockaded our efforts, but Devil's Peak is an interplanetary radio tower. Surely somebody is listening. Surely?
Graham, we should be focusing on survival anyway. Food, ammo, and medicine. Maybe now's the time to pivot.
Pivot, huh? If radio isn't working, we might try another way. It seems the captain's timing is more than just serendipitous. It must be fate. I've had my sights on an old printing press for some time. The board uses magazines and advertisements to subtly focus the colony's attention. We will use their tricks against them.
Wait, that's not what I meant.
Help me clear out and repair the press, and I will have no need for that rust bucket of a radio tower. Wonderful. I requisitioned replacement rollers for it some time ago. Huxley should have delivered them yesterday. Speaking of which, where is Huxley?
You bought rollers? You haven't even cleared the wraps out yet. What are you doing wasting bits on... Forget it. Huxley's still recovering. She won't be up for a run for a while yet.
It seems we're out a runner. If you intend to help our cause, I'll ask you to meet our MSI supplier in her stead.
So you're her mysterious savior. She sings your praises.
That girl and her songs, so eager to learn, so bright-eyed, so tone-deaf. One of our sympathizers, a woman named Carlotta, periodically buys goods on our behalf from Stellar Bay's store. Stellar Bay has caught on, but they remain friendly, though the goods now come at a considerable markup. She meets us in the ruins of Bayside Terrace. From our compound, follow the road north. Wonderful. While you're at it, I wonder if Carlotta still has those high-capacity cartridges? Grab a few, will you? There should be some funds left over from the last shipment. We can use them to copy and modify radio serials. Yes, not just magazines, but their precious dramas.
Unbelievable. I hope I don't have to tell you this, but if there is extra money, would you mind buying, I don't know, food and medicine? Graham, if you need me, I'll be in triage.
Must have been nice, throwing off the shackles of your old job, taking up the rugged life of a hunter.
Sure, it's... Wait, what?
Board must have forced you to do something till you decided to be a hunter. I was hauling boxes till the boss picked me up.
It's not like I threw off the shackles of some other life. I grew up on Monarch. I've always been a hunter. Anything else would be a waste of my outstanding talents.
I get it. You picked a path for yourself and never looked back. According to the board, what you did was impossible.
The board also claims it's impossible to live on Monarch, yet here I stand. They believe gainful employment necessary to one's survival. I believe the board can kiss my ass.
Oh, Captain, you did it! My little boy is back, safe and sound. Tell the captain how grateful we are, Tuk Tuk.
Mama, I told you that I'm not staying. I just came back to talk to you about why I left. Then I'm going back to Amber Heights.
Oh, we'll get that silliness sorted out. You're safe here with me, and that's how it's going to stay. Isn't that right? I did, didn't I? Suppose I can't expect you to just be content at a good deed done. No? Well, all right. Here, kind stranger. This is every bit I've scrimped and scraped for years to save. But it's more than worth it to have my Tuk Tuk home safe again.
I hear you're into Graham's Philosophist hogwash, Felix.
Yeah, if by philosophist hogwash you mean the virtues of enlightened anarchy.
Organization separates us from the animals. You ever seen a rat play plumbing? You see sprats running around building roads? Maybe the folks we have at the top ain't exactly leadership material. But if we tore the whole thing down, we'd be kings and queens of a wasteland.
Correction? Kings and queens of an awesome wasteland.
I'll take toilets over freedom any day of the week.
Aha, the helpful stranger I've heard so much about. Here to do business, hmm? Clear my schedule. This newcomer has a meeting with me. Celia, will you make a note of that for my self-review? Very generous.
Noted.
But not so generous I can't drive a good bargain. Now, who sent you? Rizzo's, perhaps? Or Auntie Cleo herself? Oh. I suppose that means you aren't here for the Saltuna. Now, there's no need to humor me. I'm used to this particular letdown. I had hoped that livening up our advertisements with enticing figures would draw the other corporations back to our bosom, but it seems we're back to the drawing board. Thanks to the so-called hazard clause, Monarch has been cut off from the board's resources and protection for 10 years now.
So-called is right. We've got our hazards, but we're still here, damn it. The board took off without so much as a thought for the folks left behind.
That's the board's way. Doesn't matter if you're Monarch or the Groundbreaker. If the board can't control you, they'll find a way to punish you.
Now, we've kept ourselves in business by trading with individual corporations, but given the off-the-books nature of those transactions, such arrangements are precarious. Yes, freedom is a tempting ideal, but a rather costly paramour.
Can't imagine why you'd sneer at the notion of a free colony. Could it be because you're an agent of the establishment?
Monarch's a free planet, Felix. It's also fucked. I ain't a fan of the folks on the board, but if they could be wrangled to rebuild our roads, I'd welcome the help.
Your friend makes a good point, young man. I used to be young and idealistic too, but you can't run a city on high-minded ideals.
Well, Mr. Nandi here has a rather ingenious plan to get MSI restored to the board.
On our terms, mind you.
Are you out of your mind? You can't just go crawling back to your old masters.
Well, we can't continue to subsist like this either.
And if our advertising scheme hasn't borne fruit, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands.
It's true, our Celia is an alarmingly competent middle manager. At any other company, she'd be wasted in data entry. The plan she refers to is a two-pronged approach, and the first part involves seeing Stellar Bay properly defended.
And a Mantisaur problem, and a Marauder problem.
Many, many problems, but they can all be solved with a Bolt 52 cartridge. If you can get us what we need to rejoin the board, starting with the Bolt 52, we won't need to advertise anymore. We can stop our transmissions altogether.
And you'll have a powerful ally on the board.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be up all night with this. All those blanks waiting to be filled, boxes waiting to be ticked.
Try to control yourself, sir.
Have you any idea how powerful this is? Corporations have been toppled with less. What a question! Bureaucratic micromanagement is the only way anything gets done in Halcyon, and proper documentation is a key part of that. For our part, a bill of liquidation/transfer Form 52 will protect our holdings on Monarch by temporarily assigning them to a pass-through entity once we drop our bomb on the board.
Wait, we're dropping a bomb on the board?
Sort of. Really, we're just going to blackmail them into offering us a seat at the table.
But really, whatever gets you excited about the idea? It's definitely a firm middle finger.
Help us with this final matter, and we won't need to broadcast anymore. You have my word. I have reason to believe that one of the other corporations is operating on Monarch, illegally and in secret.
The board just can't let Monarch go, huh?
If we can find proof, I can use that as leverage to encourage certain powers that be to accept our Bolt 52 and reinstate us on the board. You really think so? I admit I've been hatching this scheme for quite some time. I just needed someone capable to help me carry it out. If someone is operating here, then Catherine's almost certainly supplying them out of Fallbrook. Perhaps she could be convinced to tell you where they are. Oh, I imagine you do. But as much as I love your can-do attitude and dangerous gravitas, Catherine handles all of our shipments. So it would be best if you could leave her in one piece. Is that how you people put it? Once you, subtly work out where this corporate facility might be, bring back proof of its operation. Maybe some nice letterhead. Or someone working there. That would do it. A foolproof plan if I ever heard one. I'll leave the execution to you. This has been my albatross, the great shame of my career. I give MSI everything. My work, my youth, my left kidney, and for years, I was a joke to them. One of the executives required a transplant. I thought volunteering to donate might improve my prospects. Apparently not. Oh, perhaps they were right. After all, what have I built? Stellar Bay is barely keeping afloat. I hadn't thought of it that way. But perhaps there's something to that. Thank you for that. Was there something else? I'm sorry, who? Ah, them. They're hardly a corporation. More like a jumped-up band of thugs with certain pretensions. The evidence I'm hoping for would implicate one of the board powers. Anti-Cleos, Spacer's Choice, UDL, someone of that caliber.
Not that we don't appreciate your diligence.
Then it's good that I keep such meticulous notes. I've asked myself the same thing many times, especially seeing as the legal mechanisms we employed were part of the board's own bylaws. Not intentionally, though that's technically true. For many years, this planet was home to as many corporations as Terra 2. But back then, it was known as Terra 1. As you may have noticed, this planet has more than its share of hazards.
That ain't fair. They didn't leave on account of the hazards. They left on account of their cowardice. The hazards just gave them a reason to put to paper.
Sharp as ever, Nyoka. And as the other corporations began to tally their losses, they decided to pull out. Our leadership at the time certainly wanted to, but there were others of us who saw an opportunity. The chance to improve working hours and conditions, to reform MSI from the ground up. Ah, so you've heard about our prior acquaintance. I suppose you're right. Graham's always had a way with words. Strange as it may seem, I suspect he'd have quite the corporate career if he weren't so radical. Graham seemed like a reasonable man years ago. We both agreed that MSI's treatment of its workers was untenable. I thought reforms would be enough. I didn't realize you wanted to abolish the corporate system entirely. Reforms are humane, but they're also good business sense. Exhausted, sick, and malnourished workers are not productive workers. Even a cursory review of the data bears that out. Anyway, we learned of a loophole in the corporate bylaws that would allow MSI to claim ownership of the entire planet once the other corporations pulled out, creating the perfect environment for us to enact these new reforms. That's what I thought. But the senior executives laughed in our faces and insisted we'd be relocating to Terra 2 along with everyone else. Yes, some of us stayed behind, and as the most senior executive remaining, I ended up in charge of what was left of MSI. I moved forward with our planned reforms, as well as our strategy to assume ownership of the planet. Yet not long after I renamed it Monarch, the other corporations dislodged us from the board and began an official campaign to paint us as lawless savages. But we weren't trying to. Everything we did was legal and above board. We followed their rules, and yet they still found reasons to declare us outlaws.
Your first mistake was expecting the board to cut you a fair deal.
I understand the sentiment, but if we can't rely on some sort of framework, then what do we have? I do think there's something useful in a governing body like the board. Something that keeps us from anarchy, but I dearly wish it functioned differently. Well, technically, he may have suggested it, but he certainly wasn't doing the paperwork himself. Why wouldn't anyone? They own nearly all the resources and infrastructure in Halcyon.
Yeah, and once you go back to him, he'll own your dignity too.
Yeah, that'd go a long way toward rebuilding our homes.
To be on the board is to be part of the colonial community, and being cut off means slow strangulation. I'm not a man to put pride before progress. If membership on the board can ease our hardships and provide us with opportunities, then that's the path I mean to pursue. Besides, I'm hopeful that additional leverage on our part will allow us a more